when you go to these other cultures, it really reminds you of what's important. And I felt that just on this past trip and many trips before, it reset my brain, reset my heart. And by the end of it, I was way more relaxed than I had been. I slept better than I had been here in the States, because I was focused on the here and now, right?
If you really want to live a life that is more fulfilling, you're going to continually have to access that courage, and going on a transformative, traveling experience is going to wake up that courage, but also help you to get more in the know of like, yeah, I have what I have what it takes.
I've walked through some of the poorest of the poor in the world, Afghanistan, Iraq, Nepal, and they are wearing smiles on their faces. And that's unbelievable. And to see that, it also changing your perspective on what's important, right? Is it money? No, but they're rich in love, right? They're rich in that family. They're rich in experiences.
Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness.
There's a reason why ancient cultures send young men on vision quests and journeys of initiation. Something about leaving home strips away our pretenses and reveals our true nature. Today, we're going to unpack the alchemy that happens when you travel, not just to see new places, but to become new people.
I love that.
Wait,
all right.
Welcome back, Jon. We're here for another episode.
Excited to be back.
Yeah.
And literally back.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dive into. Jon just was, you spent 2 weeks in Australia, right?
11 days, 12 days if you count all the travel.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was awesome, man. Great time.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about how, we've just done an adventure episode. And there's going to be some overlap between those two episodes, but we're going to distinguish that from this episode, talking about culture and how the travel kind of changes us. I love how you open that, right, with the not just to see new places, but to become new people. And I do feel that this trip did quite a bit of that, but we'll get into that. But we've also if this topic does speak to you, why don't you travel to Texas? To Texas in October. Will and I are going to be doing a 5K team Spartan race. We've got some people teamed up with us already. So head to mentalkingmindfulness.com for all the info on that and everything else that we've got going on. Let's get into our one breath grounding practice. I actually had to do that quite a few times on this past trip, and we'll again talk about that here in a second. I had to do more than one breath multiple times.
I wonder why, Jon. You're with family. You were with family, right?
I was. It was fantastic, but traveling with family is interesting. But honestly, anyway, I'll get into this.
One breath. Here we go.
Yeah. So one breath. For those watching and listening, thanks for joining. And if you would, just bring your attention to the current time, the current space. And let's just start with a nice big exhale, letting that air out, focusing on the physical sensations of that exhale and holding empty at the bottom. And then a nice, long, slow, deep breath in. Filling all the way to the top and holding full at the top. And then a nice, long, slow, relaxing breath out. And then bring some movement back in your body, rolling the shoulders, rolling the neck, opening your eyes if they were closed. And let's get into this conversation all about travel and the adventures that come with travel, but also the changes that happen with us, man. So I'll turn it over to you, my brother.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just keep rolling with I know we talked about both collectively our adventures and what they've done to not necessarily we've talked about them, but maybe not what they've done to us by experiencing them. And that's, what we're talking about here today, because I think we kind of get into our comfort zones for sure. We get into a routine of doing things. We get into expectations about how things should be done. The United States is very different than a lot of other countries, and a lot of other countries are very different than the United States in many, many different ways. And every time that I've left, especially going to a radically different place that's not like Western, kind of norms, I've just gained so much incredible insight about myself, about other cultures, greater appreciation for other cultures, for other people and how they do things. and it just come back with, they say, I was looking at different information for today, and there's like, you go on the plane and go to this place as one person, but you get back on the plane as a different person.
Right.
And that's a lot of things that I've experienced. And one of the experiences that I keep going for, the adventures that I keep going for, is something that's going to definitely speak to me in a way that is going to challenge my belief system, is going to, challenge my expectations, challenge, the norms that I kind of built my life around. And when I come back from these experiences, I definitely, have that appreciation. I have new insight. I have a deeper understanding of the human condition, because I see it in different places, and experience in real time, instead of just being a book, which are great, watching some YouTube videos, which are great, but actually going and being on the ground and breathing the same air as human beings. It's really been wonderful for me to experience those things.
Yeah, man. Fully agree with that, all of it, but the last part there with the YouTube videos. I have a Peloton treadmill, and on the treadmill you can quote unquote run in all these different locations, right? It's got a TV screen in front of you. Same thing with the Peloton bike. And I've quote unquote run in Sydney, at the Opera House and that whole area.
Oh yeah, tell me.
And it was weird being there, because I've run so many times on the treadmill, again, virtually in Sydney, and it looked very familiar, but it was also obviously very different being there in person. But that's how travel. So we again spoke about adventure in the last episode, and how important adventure is. But travel is a unique type of adventure, right? It's not the risk that we've talked about last time. It's truly seeing different people, seeing different cultures, feeling different temperatures. I mean, going down to, Sydney in April, they're moving to winter there. It's fall or autumn there. Whereas here in the north, it's spring and we're moving to warmer. They're moving to colder. But their cold is nowhere near our cold
Colorado
here.
cold.
Yeah,
right?
like the cold there. The coldest it gets is like low 40s, sometimes just barely sub 40. And clearly they also operate with the Celsius or centigrade temperatures too. So like when we're landing, they're coming across the microphone on the plane and talking to us, or the speakers on the plane talking to us about what temperature is, and they're like, yeah, it's 22 degrees Celsius, and I'm like, well, let me see, what is that in Fahrenheit? But anyhow, travel is a unique type of adventure that really does change us. And this Australia trip that I just went on was a perfect example of that. Even though it's an English-speaking country primarily, the culture there is even different. Obviously, the accents are different. Obviously, the metric system is different, right, from what we practice here in the States. But there's also, other culture differences. I met with RJ Singh. He's one of our guests before on the show. Yeah, I met with him in person. Met with Barry Zworenstein, who is a longtime friend that I've met with on LinkedIn, or met on LinkedIn, but never met in person. But when I was sitting down with RJ, he mentioned this one thing that I've never heard of, and maybe you have, Will, but it was tall poppy syndrome.
Oh yeah, they talk about that in Canada too. But tell our audience about that. Yeah.
So tall poppy syndrome, essentially, if a field of poppies is growing and a certain poppy plant or poppy flower is growing higher than the rest, they'll cut it off. And how that translates to tall poppy syndrome, if you will, is that in many countries, if somebody is standing out head and shoulders above the others by being ultra successful, they will kind of knock them down, bring them down, like, check them, check their ego. And why that was interesting to me was in the States, if somebody is standing out, quite often they will continue to stand out and maybe run for office or whatever. And people who run for office clearly have to kind of, have thought of themselves as, hey, I'm good, I can make a difference, but also they may think of themselves really highly. And RJ was like, yeah, the people who get elected in America probably wouldn't get elected in Australia, not just because of political differences, but because they see themselves as higher than everybody else, which was interesting to me. So that's, a culture difference that we have there.
So wait, let me just get that be clear, or
Yeah,
like for clarity. So
yeah,
so they always try to stay with the herd. You know what I mean? So not trying to stick out in
yeah,
some ways. Wow, wow.
yeah, for the most part. And and this is generalization clearly for our Aussie brothers and sisters listening down south. This is not a knock at all. This is just what I learned while I was there. Also, they seem way more relaxed than we as Americans do. They're like it was actually very relaxing being there around them, because here, even with what I know and what I practice, there's still this desire to grind, grind, grind. And certainly there's going to be those down in Australia who do. But man, they just seemed more chill. It was kind of like being in Hawaii and being on island time. It's like on Australian time or Australian attitude. Like there were bumper stickers that said like, "You're in Australia, man," or "You're in Australia, mate. Relax." I was like, right on. And I did within a few days feel more relaxed. Um, that said, the travel, as you mentioned, being with family, travel with my parents and my oldest daughter, it was challenging. One moment in particular, I freaking loaded. So we were traveling with 2 bags each, me and my daughter, 2 bags each, my parents, 2 bags each. And somehow through security, moving from Sydney to Brisbane, I left one of the bags at security. And yeah, boarded the plane, got on there, and I was like, man, something is wrong. And I'm like, shit, left one of the bags at security. So me and my daughter jumped off the plane, ran back to security, missed the plane, had to schedule another flight out. But that's one of the times I was doing, the breathing. But it was also, I can miss a plane in the States and I know what to do. And it wasn't terribly different there. I rescheduled on Qantas from this other company. And I'm going down way too detailed path, but bottom line is I was practicing some breathing, being around family. They were practicing some breathing, being around me, because I know I can be a pretty intense person. And my daughter, she's 8 years old, and she was rolling with the punches. She learned so much on that trip. It's unbelievable. And that's the other thing, right? Traveling with family, it bonds you, but it also there's some stress there that you have to adjust. But anyway, yeah, again, I'm going down some rabbit holes, but yeah, I feel that trip was the trip of a lifetime. It did change me. I'm coming back feeling more relaxed, feeling more enlightened. Took some time to journal while I was out there, and be very intentional about making the trip more than just a trip. It was an experience, and I think that's what we have to do if we want the travel to change us and not just go through the motions. We have to be intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. It's instead of it just being sightseeing, really like making like plugging things in deliberately on this opportunity in order to really, it's just like, I mean, with the incredible contrast between the norm, right? Your norm versus like being in another place, like everything is different. Like obviously where the location is different, the people are going to be different, the customs are going to be different. Yeah, the food is going to be very different. The attitude is going to be different. Like the vibe is going to be very different. The expectations are going to be very different. And that's I've learned, a lot of different things. Like I've been going to a developing country like Nigeria, and going to a city like Lagos, which has 17.5 million people at the time. That was 2012. It's probably 20 million people now. Most of them are very, very, very poor. I mean, I came back with a wonderful appreciation for New York City. Like I just stopped when I came back. I was away for a long time. like a month in Nigeria, and then I did 3 weeks over in East Africa, and I was just like, I couldn't, like, the cultural differences are shocking, and and the people are very different. Their values are very different. They really seem uh, in both of those countries, and a lot of, even down in Central America, I've done a lot of traveling. Like, I think the family system seems to be more valued, than even here in the United States, which is like, seems to be falling apart, and coming back with, and just being around, that like deep family orientation, because a lot of these families in these countries that are very poor, that's all they have is each other. So they really lean into each other. They really work together in order to create opportunities for everyone in the family to at least, survive, if not even thrive a little bit.
Yeah. And sorry, I just like that.
No.
I loved, actually, I didn't love the way that was phrased, but I mean, it was phrased in a way that made me think about, you said people who are very poor, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. They don't even know that they're poor necessarily, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They sure,
Right.
they don't have a whole lot of money. They
Yeah.
probably don't have a whole lot of food.
Yeah.
Maybe their housing situation isn't very secure, but they're rich in love, right? They're rich in like
Yeah.
that family. They're rich
Right.
in experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've walked through, some of the poorest of the poor in the world: Afghanistan, Iraq, Nepal, and they are wearing smiles on their faces. There's
Yeah.
like Afghanistan and Iraq, their countries were war ravaged, and they are still wearing smiles on their faces. And they have that tight knit family, and that's unbelievable. And to see that, yeah, it also changing your perspective on what's important, right? Is it money? No. Sure,
Yeah.
it's nice to make money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against money.
No, not at all. Yeah.
If you want to send me money, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, right.
But what really makes us rich is our experiences, how much love we have in our lives, that much more depth there than so many of us here in the West have, as far as what riches are. So sorry, coming back to how you phrased that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And
Yeah, I think it was important that we highlighted
no, I think
what riches mean, right?
yeah, you're right. You're right. And even with these countries that don't have a lot of money within the family unit, or with the person itself, I couldn't believe how incredibly well everyone dressed. They dressed with a tremendous amount of respect. Like, I mean, we think in the United States, like, our logic here is like, if you're poor, you're dirty clothes, or you're dressing slovenly or whatever. But like, I couldn't believe, like, some of the incredible outfits, and customs that they have, like, built into their own presentation. And it was just like a really stark contrast. As in Dar es Salaam, in the capital of Tanzania, just passing through before I went on, to do more adventure, or more like, opportunities for growth, if you will, like going to the Serengeti and stuff like that, and camping and getting off the grid. But in Dar es Salaam, like, no paved roads, it had just rains, there's puddles everywhere, mud everywhere. And it just like, and there's like, the housing didn't look great. It's kind of, very dilapidated, looks like, almost like it's falling apart. Looks like it's, it's not even, it looks like it's like uninhabited. But people are walking by these, this mud and these puddles and these dilapidated houses, and they look absolutely fantastic. Like, vibrant clothing, perfectly clean, pressed. Everyone had, again, a sense of pride about them, which is really interesting to see. I came back from, those trips with just so much, again, just appreciation for what we have here, and appreciation for family, appreciation of what it really means to, connect, meaningfully with people, instead of it being, about something else other than like the human, experience and the human connection.
Yeah, it's about the soul. There seems to be more compassion and love and just zest for life as a whole, than like the what the proverbial hamster wheel that so many of us are on, the rat race that we're in here in the States, just chained to the dollar, right? And I think there's more to life. And I think sometimes getting out and doing this travel reminds us of that, because it's easy to get lost in it here, right? Our friends have a better car than us, or a better house, or not even our friends. With social media, you see people that you're competing with all over the world. Keeping up with the Joneses has now become keeping up with everybody on the planet. And when you go to these other cultures, it really reminds you of what's important. And I felt that just on this past trip and many trips before, it reset my brain, reset my heart. And by the end of it, I was way more relaxed than I had been. I slept better than I had been here in the States, because I was focused on the here and now, right? Even as a mindfulness teacher myself, you still get wrapped up in, okay, what's the business doing? What's this doing? What's that doing? And not just being here in the moment. And when I was with my parents and my brother who lives down there in Brisbane, and my cousins who live in Sydney, and, clearly having to take care of my daughter, that's what I was focused on. And then experiencing that place with them. I was there in the here and in the now. I mean, there were some moments I had like chill bumps, because of the experience itself was so powerful, and almost moved to tears at sometimes. So, and that, in order to experience travel like that, I think you have to have that open heart, and be, again, coming back to being intentional, journaling about it. When you just go to sightsee, and maybe you bust out your camera or your phone just to take pictures, so that then again you can post them to social media. Don't get me wrong, I did that too. I shared pictures with my family, I shared pictures with my friends of where we were, but that wasn't the point. That was just a piece of the travel, right? I wanted to share how great the travel was. I didn't go to travel to share that, if that makes sense. And I think that's where some of us get lost in travel, is going for the wrong reasons. So you have to allow the place to change you. You have to allow the travel to change you. So,
well, I think it's like is it the implicit or explicit? Are you just like going to travel in order to get all the great pictures and
look how great my life
live up
is.
the joint looks, and like do your Instagram life? Or you're going for, a real internal experience that can really inform and create, a new mindset that can shift your mindset in some ways, that can, potentially change your path going forward. And really, like, I mean, getting out of your comfort zone, like unplugging, from the norm, and plug into something that's very, very, very different. And, I remember going to, when I first go to a brand new place, it's unbelievable. I'm really exhausted by the end of the day, because my mind is trying to process so much fucking information, so much new information. It's like, because, we had Clint Emerson on, a little while ago. It's like, some of these countries, when you're going into a very, very poverty, very poor country, like not a lot of financial means, there could be, a lot of thievery, so you got to kind of be in the know and kind of look out a little bit. So like, I like that as a man, that kind of wakes me up a little bit, and realizing like, okay, like I have these skills that I don't necessarily use all the time in my normal life when I'm back in the States. I mean, I kind of do in New York City, but it's kind of second nature now. I mean, it's just like, I just know New York, but like, but when I drop into a new place, it's like, wow, there's a lot to process, and it really challenges me in a lot of great ways. But also, how I greet that challenge is just by staying grounded, staying calm, telling myself that everything's going to be okay, and just keep trying to have a good experience by keeping a positive mindset. I think like getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of your routine is going to be, that's part of this transformation here. Because like I'm listening right now. This is like the first time I've seen or really spoken to Jon in voice.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
only been texting and stuff like that since Jon's been away. But you are more relaxed. You are more calm. I can hear it in your delivery. I mean, I can even feel like there's less of a give and a fuck, right now within you. You know, I mean, you do care, but I can
Yeah,
feel,
no,
but
I
you're
get
just
it.
like, it's just kind of like put on the, a nice little Gore-Tex or Teflon layer over top of you. That's just like the only thing that matters are the things that really matter.
Yeah,
Right. Instead of all like the little petty shit that we get wrapped up in, because, we're in the States, I'm seeing so much. We're very dramatic people, John. I
we
feel
are,
like we're
and
very dramatic
we
people.
care a whole lot about what others think.
Yes. Oh
And it
God.
seems
Yeah.
like so many of the other cultures are not as, and I don't want to say they're completely oblivious to what others say, but they're not as concerned. And I'm reading this great book too. This also has helped. Is Mel Robbins' book, Let Them, and it's all about just letting people have the opinions they're going to have, and then let me have my opinions and let me do what I'm going to do without being concerned about others. But coming back to the piece about um, your trips and kind of being on high alert when you first get to a place. If you've read Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey's book, that's what he intentionally does. He would use, I think he goes away for 3 weeks at a time. I forget exactly, but I want to say it's 3 weeks. And he will go to a place that doesn't speak his language. They don't know who he is, right? A huge portion of the world knows who Matthew McConaughey is. So he'll go to
It's wild.
these places completely off grid that don't know who he is. He doesn't speak their language. He doesn't go there with other people. And he's like, for the first 13 days when he's in these places, he's on high alert, completely still plugged in. But after 13 days, for some reason, he's like, that's the magic mark. After that part, that's when you start really feeling comfortable in a new location. And that's when you can settle in with the new cultures, the new experiences, and really start to absorb that. And now I know that it's kind of unrealistic for all of us to take 21 days. We're not all multimillionaires like Matthew McConaughey is, but we can still get that experience maybe quicker than he does, because I don't know why, but maybe there's an opportunity to go out and assimilate into the culture and let some of the culture assimilate into us faster. Like I'll say Australia did, man, like driving on the left side of the road. It's been a while since it's been a while since I didn't drive, but just even seeing the cars on the left side of the road, it's been a while since I've seen that. It's, different money. Like people were talking about how many millions of dollars homes cost there. And I'm thinking, crap, how much is that? And I had to, do the US conversion. And I mean, even in buying little stuffed animals for my daughter, I'm like, how much is that? So that, there's culture assimilation there. But coming back to the fact that the travel changed me, this trip certainly did. It's been the first one I've done in a while. We've gone to, Cancun for a couple of days, or Hawaii here and there. But still the trip to a completely opposite side of the globe, that was something else that I haven't done in a while. We talked last time about a trip to Nepal that I had taken. Well, that trip was fantastic, but on either side of it. So when we were flying out, we stopped in Dubai just for a day, and then flew from Dubai into Nepal. So we went from U.S. to very, very, very rich in Dubai to very, very, very poor in Nepal. And then coming back from Nepal, we spent 3 or 4 days, I forget how many days, in Nepal. I'm sorry, in Dubai. And Dubai is like the height of opulence. There's just so much money
I've
there.
been to that airport. It's like the airport's ridiculous.
The airport's ridiculous. Yeah. The downtown, the tallest building in the world with the Burj Khalifa.
Burj Khalifa, yeah.
And they've got they've got one of the nicest hotels in the world with the Burj Al Arab. It's phenomenal, but it's also, you feel really guilty coming from a very poor country like Nepal and Kathmandu versus Dubai. But it also, it makes you feel like, okay, I am a human being, and there's going to be varying levels of human beings on the planet. Some that are wrapped up in, again, the objects, right? So Dubai is that way. The biggest building, the richest of the rich, the nicest cars, they're very wrapped up in that. I mean, some of them, again, this is generalization. But then in Kathmandu, what are they don't have a whole lot, but what are they wrapped up in? They're wrapped up in what truly matters: family, love, kindness, connection. And I think that's what we need to see more often, is the contrast between the two, the yin and yang. And then that can kind of say, you know what? Yeah, here, even in the US, we're not doing too bad, right? Yeah, the rest of the world is not like the USA, and the USA is not like the rest of the world, but we're not doing too bad. Um, I, I think, yeah, there's still a propensity to get wrapped up in the dollar and get wrapped up in that rat race, but there's still a great deal of love here, right? Our listeners, there's a lot of love there. People reach out to us regularly and tell us how much this show has changed them. Um, so anyway, again, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm still jet lagged.
Yeah, that's
So
all good.
that's the other thing that's changed is I'm jet lagged. So which is probably another reason you're hearing me feel a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm still out of it.
Yeah.
but hopefully I didn't go down too much of a rabbit hole there and making sense.
I mean, I think like there's two things I think that is important to talk about too. Like there's definitely financial constraints depending on your financial, that could be, according to your financial condition. So it could be that, but you don't have to let that stand in your way. I mean, there is definitely places that are like a few hours away from you that you can travel to. And I think it's, again, not just for sightseeing like that. There is definitely a sense of adventure that comes through. You're right. But the transformative aspect is like, get out of your comfort zone. Like that's, I think, the important aspect we're really trying to speak to here is if you really want to use travel as an opportunity to transform, it's like, well, then what's going to challenge you? And I don't, that's a personal question for all of you out there. And one thing that I've actually really woke up to, or just really started feeling the energy of it the last couple of years, is like hiking. I went and hiked in Guatemala, and I went to Achatenango, and hiked Achatenango, which is a dormant volcano that's right next to a very active fucking volcano, like Fuego, and it would go off like every 20 minutes sometimes. Like it was unbelievable to see actually lava spewing out of a volcano. But in order to really experience that incredible natural phenomenon, I needed to climb up to 13,000 feet and on basically gravel, because the type of volcano that Achatenango was, I forget there's a couple different types of, it wasn't like pouring smooth molten lava, that would roll down the mountains like the ones in Hawaii. Like they just form like rock, like large masses of rock. These volcanoes, the type of molten rock that they have within them, they turn into little pebbles. And so I'm walking up Achatenango on pebbles. And so it's just like every step is like, it's like you take one step forward and you're kind of going back 2 steps almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable the amount of energy it took for me to climb, up this mountain. And it was exhausting. I was very tired, but I just kept being pulled up the mountain by the active volcano that I kept seeing off in the skyline. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. Plus I had some friends with me, so we're able to kind of inspire and support each other, to kind of keep going. And I just sat there with the glory of nature and just in complete wonderment and complete awe, which helped to wake something really deep inside of me. Which, we're just, this whole human experience is an incredible wonder. And just to sit with nature in that regard just really helped me to just appreciate, that, I'm in this body, I have this life, I'm able to really appreciate, what is, what's going on in that particular environment. But so now, sure enough, like because of that, and one of the guys that came on that trip with me, we literally, as we speak, I just threw down some money to go to Peru, and we're gonna go to Asagante, which is it's gonna be like a 5-day trek to go see the Rainbow Mountains in Chile. And I'm really, really excited about going. I mean, I haven't been to South America at all. So this will be my first trip there. Again, because I have traveled, because I have gotten out of my comfort zone, already am feeling the value of just being in a different culture, right? And experiencing a whole different world. there's millions of people down there. Even forget that. There's millions and millions and billions of people across this planet, that all live in very, very different ways. But what's also really challenging, getting me out of my comfort zone, I'm already kind of nervous about it, is we're going to be climbing up to almost as high as 17,000 feet, which is way beyond like the highest peak that I've ever done. But for multiple
that's gonna be a
days,
hell
like
of an experience.
our average fucking height on this hike is going to be at 13,000 feet.
Yep.
So it's like, fuck. So just to even prepare for that, because I live at sea level. So I'm
Coming
like, oh my
from
God,
sea
what am
level.
I going to do? What am I going to do? So we're going to go in a few days earlier, but like, I'm working out, I have been working out, but I'm going to increase my load, with my weighted vest. So I have like this thing that's calling me forward, right? Because I really want to have a great experience and not like, like have to climb down the mountain or something like that, or ride like a mule the whole time. But then also like this is like, I'm part of the transformation, already starting before I go on this trip, is like coordinating this trip. Like I'm inviting some other friends to come, sharing my enthusiasm, this opportunity, my excitement. And it's just like, it's waking up that part of me, the community aspect of me, reaching out and connecting to other people. And then having some of the responsibility to like find the right Airbnb and, find the flights and stuff like that. So it's just like, I'm sure we mentioned this on the last episode, having that on my calendar, oh my God, all like the worst days don't seem so fucking bad anymore. Cause I'm going to Peru. Like, I can't believe I'm going to Peru. Like I haven't booked the flight yet. I'm going to do that in the next week or so, but, it's like, wow, like I'm excited for the adventure ahead and the transformation opportunities that are going to be there. Because when I climbed down from that volcano, my mind was blown after Guatemala, and I just want more of those mind-blowing experiences. And when I think about that term, when you blow your mind, right? Like I think it just kind of you shatter, what you feel life is, and now you have or what life was, and you have an opportunity to create like a different frame, a different mindset, a different way of processing the world that kind of meets these new transformative experience that you've had.
It's the preconceived notions that we have about other places, other cultures, and then going out and actually experiencing them and seeing which of those preconceived notions are in line with reality versus not. And I also want to come back to what you talked about, is the wonderment and awe, right? That's some of the things that are required to get into flow, are a sense of wonder, a sense of awe, and being on travel can in fact help you to tap into that. And then that flow highlights the experience, or heightens the experience. I think you notice more, you see more, you experience more, you feel more. And then doing that, I think, allows you to, so, I just traveled to Australia with my parents and my oldest daughter, who's 8. And I think that connected us.
Yeah, great point.
Right. We stayed more connected together, experiencing that all together. But then there's also, I believe, value in traveling by yourself.
Oh, I've done it.
So
yeah.
we talk about connecting with others. Those you're traveling with. You're going to experience wonderment and awe, and you're going to have a heightened sense of connection with them. But I think when you're traveling by yourself, you have a heightened sense of connection with yourself. You feel things, you notice the feelings, you notice the experiences in yourself. And then coming back to what you mentioned, the planning for the trip, the during the trip, the after the trip. I think you connect there, right? So my parents and I were going back and forth. Hey, what flights are we going to take? Which sites are we going to go see? It's the planning of the trip that's also a sense of flow that you get into together. Then, I united with my parents in Dallas. We flew from Colorado to Dallas to then get on a 17+ hour flight from Dallas to Sydney. And yeah, I've traveled some long flights. That was long.
That's a motherfucking long flight.
Yeah,
Oof.
man. And my daughter was a champ She didn't even freaking go to the bathroom the entire time. A 17-hour flight, didn't go to the bathroom. I'm like, what in the hell, man? I want your bladder.
Yeah,
anyway.
right.
Yeah, connecting, planning the trip, connecting during the trip, and then connecting afterwards, right? We're still like chatting via text. I'm like, hey, man, that was such a great experience. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for that. Oh, remember when we saw this? And then, flipping pictures back and forth. I think there's a connection before, there's a connection during, and then there's a connection after. And that can be applied when you travel with friends, when you travel with family, but it also can be applied when you travel by yourself, right? There's a connection that you have with yourself, that flow. Okay, what do I want to go and see? What do I want to go and do, right? How often do you get to do just what you want to do? Then clearly during the trip, and then afterwards, just reflecting on what it is you saw, what it is you did, what it is you experienced, and then how you personally changed. I think that's great. And then, sorry, I'll get off this here in a second. The last thing is there's a connection with those that you leave behind. So I left, my 2 youngest kids behind, and clearly I left my wife behind. And we were very intentional about staying in touch. And then I also left little cards all throughout the house, like hidden cards.
You are fucking adorable.
And so oh, thanks, man. So every day we would send a picture back saying, hey, look under this thing, look under that thing. And there's a card. Wow. And the kids loved it, and Becca liked it. I think the kids liked it more than Becca, but anyhow, but there was an intentionality behind staying connected. And then, we all heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
There was that. So
yeah,
in a kind of ironic way, being away makes you appreciate one another. So you're connecting with those that you're with, you're connecting with yourself, and in a weird way or different way, you're connecting with those that you leave behind, right? So I think those are important things to consider when you travel. You're building connections all around.
That's like one thing that John Eldridge brought up. I had asked him, and if you haven't listened to the episode, everybody, it's really phenomenal. John just shared a message with me about someone that listened to it is like, oh my God, what a great, great, great episode, Wild at Heart. And he had talked about, I was like, so, what do you have to say to the wives out there about letting their husband have a sense of adventure? And he's like, it's necessary. Like, they will love you more. They will appreciate you more. They will come back with this new perspective. And, it was great to have him double down on that. It's interesting. We had this little theme about adventure, obviously, that we've been speaking of here on the show, but that's how necessary it is. But another thing when I get on these adventures is I get to wake up my courage. Right. And where's courage? Courage is in the heart. Right. And if you really want to live a life that is more fulfilling, you're going to continually have to access that courage, and going on a transformative, traveling experience is going to wake up that courage, but also help you to get more in the know of I have I have what it takes. Right. And by putting yourself deliberately in an uncomfortable situation, you begin to answer that call, which is, again, back to John Eldridge, that primary call as a young boy, even as a man, stays with us. Do I have what it takes? And getting out of your comfort zone and traveling to a new place. And again, it doesn't have to be far to answer that question. That's just going to keep your wild heart alive for men and women, everybody, but men in particular. I think it's an important more now than ever because of how incredibly comfortable life is. I mean, just the phones, Amazon, and we don't have to leave your fucking house anymore, man, at all, but there's a lot of value in doing that.
Well, I think that probably the last things, and we've kind of touched on this, but what can you do intentionally leading up to a trip to ensure that trip is truly transformational, right?
Great question.
And we
what
talked
are some
about
of those things.
Yeah, we talked about journaling. We talked about maybe putting the phone down.
Yeah.
Or if you are taking pictures, take them for memories. Don't necessarily take them to post online and share how great your trip is, but just take it for yourself. Take it for yourself. I've traveled out. I think I talked about this last time. Traveled out to Hawaii and took just a map and a burner phone, not a smartphone, and I just did what I wanted to do on certain days. And sometimes I went by the seat of my pants and just did what I wanted to do on that day. I had no idea what the plan was. But I think the big thing that you can do is be intentional, be mindful, kind of lean into the experiences, embrace the discomfort. I mean, even when on this past trip, when we missed that flight and my daughter, she embraced it. She was, a little upset at first. She's like, what are we going to do? All this. And then afterwards we were laughing about it and we're like, hey, remember when we ran through the airport? Embrace the
a little adventure inside the adventure.
Yeah, the adventure inside the adventure, right? And make the trip more than just a vacation, right? Make it an opportunity for transformation. So make it, I guess, transformation vacation is the new word, not just to go and travel, but to truly use it as a transformation experience.
Well, you mentioned fear, like, okay, a little, like, we had Kristen Ulmer on, talking about fear, being with fear, dancing with fear, understanding fear by being with fear instead of just ignoring it or trying to shut it down. So I mean, that's what these travel experiences are going to do for you. But then also, we talked about flow, right? And it just like takes like 1 to 4% out of your comfort zone. And like, what happens when you wake up the technology and the biology that brings us into flow?
Oh yeah.
Like I want more of those experiences. Like, this is one of the reasons I really enjoy selfishly the podcast, because we're just in this, dynamic flow, whether it's you or me, whether it's like we have a guest or two guests on.
Unless you're jet lagged and then you're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm fucking trying to make sense of what John's saying for everybody out there. So thank you for putting up with John today, everybody.
Jeez.
I'm just kidding. No, you're just doing great, John. You're doing great. But
I was supposed to be asleep right now, man.
No, I know, right? Well, tough shit, dude. It's not happening right now. Okay, but then
I'm embracing my discomfort.
Yeah, but then I could appreciate those flow experiences. Like, I teach, every time I teach here in New York yoga, I drop right into flow, but I'm able to get the flow because I'm really able. I think what helps me, and also these transformation experiences, is it's going to help you also lock into the beginner's mindset, which is so fucking key to personal growth, right?
Yeah.
If you're a know-it-all, right, there's no new information coming in, and if you're going to be a know-it-all in a new environment, good luck.
Yeah,
good fucking luck, man.
Great point.
Like, right? Go ahead.
That's So I'm glad you said that. So the desire to be comfortable when you're on travel. Sure. I mean, you want to sleep in a comfortable bed.
Yes.
You want to have all your necessities, your needs met. But hey, maybe you want to try a new food, right? You've traveled to a new country and maybe there's foods there that are not available in your country, or, like eating something different, going to a different cultural experience. Like when I lived in Bahrain, Becca and she visited out there and we went to a mosque, and we actually went inside the mosque and got to experience what it was their culture does for, one of their prayers for the day. And I mean, I lived there and I hadn't gone there. I was like, this is ridiculous. I live right here by this beautiful mosque and I've never gone up to it. And we got to go in and see it. Right. And that was, I got to admit, I was not 100% comfortable doing it, but I learned so much, and we were embraced. They were like, "Come on in." They gave us the proper attire to wear in, so that we were being respectful of their culture, and it was beautiful. Seeing some of the Aboriginal culture in Australia, beautiful. Tasting some of the foods that I've never tasted, whether it's in Australia or Bahrain or Jordan or wherever. Do that. Do the things that are not. Don't go and eat McDonald's, right? Like that's the thing that everybody's comfortable doing. It's so easy to seek out what you always do, even on these trips. But that, coming back to flow and what Stephen Kotler talks about with ability to get into flow, is that awe, but also the novelty, having that novelty. Seek out that novelty. I think being intentional about seeking that out is going to help to make the trip that much more transformational. So I think that's the last thing I wanted to make sure I hit, was novelty and being intentional about seeking.
Well, I think like seeking that novelty, especially with the mosque. I mean, like I see these rites and these rituals and these prayer services on, online or on the news and stuff like that. But, and so then I kind of form some sort of opinion about it, which is based on my own ignorance or just based on the information that I'm receiving. But to actually go in, and honestly, there's a lot of different attitudes towards different religions in this country. Everyone has an opinion, whether it's, good, bad, right, left, doesn't, but I think you get what I'm saying is like, to actually go into the mosque, to be welcomed by the people, to sit in prayer with them. Like, I mean, I haven't had that experience like you, but I'd imagine every time you go, you see that on news, like, oh, it gives, you must have, I'd imagine you have a newfound respect for other people, for other cultures, for the way that they live.
Yeah. For sure. And I just want to be clear. I didn't join them in prayer. I didn't know how.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just,
but we got to actually go up top and witness their prayer. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But, there's something to be said for, our ignorance, right?
Right.
Our ignorance about so many things, cultural ignorance,
our perceived superiority as well. Just stupidity,
big time,
man.
right?
Such ignorance. Yeah.
So break down those preconceived notions, those areas where we may be ignorant, areas where we do have perceived superiority. Like we're not superior necessirily.
We're just
in
different.
A lot of spaces.
We're just
different. Yep, exactly.
We're just different,
So,
and we get to appreciate those differences.
Yeah.
And I think the more you can, the more you can experience, put yourself in a position where you can experience those differences in different people, but also there's a common theme underneath it, like love, connection, and belonging. You know what I mean? And that's we're human beings, and so there's the common humanity experience of everything, but there's also the way that we live our lives as individual human beings or as collective ones are very, very, very different.
Yeah. And last thing, I want to say is I know travel internationally can be cost prohibitive. And I want to acknowledge that I'm very blessed in the fact that I was able to travel all the way across the globe with my family. It doesn't have to be travel all the way across the country, across the globe. You can travel to another state. You can travel to another part of your state. I mean, I lived in Louisiana growing up. Northern Louisiana, very different than Southern Louisiana. That there's a lot of very strong French and very strong even Spanish influence in Southern Louisiana, and the Creole heritage down there. That is a new culture, and you don't have to travel across the globe to do it. Maybe just travel. Heck, you can even travel into different parts of your own city, right? I mean, New York, how many cultures are there that you can experience there, right?
God,
you just go to a different part of the city and see a completely different culture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drop into a workshop, drop into a cultural experience, go to one of, there's so many different ways that people express themselves, whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's food, whether it's some sort of community gathering. Like there's actually people here, the Asian population, they practice a lot of Qigong and Tai Chi in groups. There's I've seen parks here in the city where there's 30 people all doing the same movements, everybody, and they're all 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old women, 90-year-old women moving through together with the little, the music in the background. And I'm like, they don't give a shit. They're doing this together. They're experiencing their culture in this collective culture that we have, or collection of cultures. And I'm just like, it's so nice to see that, and that's one thing, there's a lot of obviously cultural diversity here in New York. So I think I have a high level of respect for other people and cultures, because I need to also respect that, because if I'm going around saying, hey, you should just be like me, fuck, I'm not going to be able to live here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess the gist of the show is that, hey, get out and travel, but really also experience other cultures, right? So it could be the two together, but it doesn't necessarily have to be travel to another country to see different cultures. Be open to what other cultures have. Don't necessarily take on everything that they practice, but be open to it. Experience it. Ask questions. Be curious, right? The beginner's mindset, like Will was talking about.
Well, I think one thing I'll mention last is, like, you can also, again, travel within, so you can take yourself and then go to a meditation retreat for a long weekend. You know what I mean? You can go. I mean, we talked about psychedelic experiences, which are like, they call it a trip because you don't come back the same. So John and I, the first time we met was in Costa Rica doing a psychedelic experience. We got three things. John and I met the first time. We're having a good time in Costa Rica during the pandemic, and we're doing a psychedelic experience with, a group of people that I don't even know. Like, check as far as transformation, travel, adventure, community, connection, comfort zone, everything, man. A beginner's mindset. So I think it's just, I think we actually did a really great job today, just trying to create awareness around the transformative opportunities that can come with travel, but not travel just to go sightsee, but travel to get out of your comfort zone and experience something different and come back with new appreciation. So It's a lot of fun, John. Yeah,
man. Let's wrap it up there.
That's it.
Yeah. So thanks, for those of you who tuned in. Appreciate you all. Yeah. And Will, you want to wrap it up with a quick closing practice?
We'll do a closing practice just to remind everybody, like, if you want to connect, experience some community and challenge yourself, come down to our Spartan race in October 19th in Ganbury, Texas, about 90 minutes outside of Dallas. We're going to do a 5K obstacle. It's 22 obstacles, so it's going to be quite fun. I'm gearing up for that as well, right? So but we'll just do we'll just do a few breaths, right? And you can use these breaths. I hope you are using these breaths when things, you begin to feel that emotional like current begin to wake up on the inside, just to kind of calm it down a little bit so you can keep that clarity. But even when you are traveling, and you lose your bag at security and you can go back, right? You take a few fucking breaths, right? It's just
dude.
like, I can only imagine. I missed a flight once. Oh my God.
Oh, dude.
Fucking nuts.
I was in, I forget what. I was in DC the week before. I was in DC, and they come across the intercom or whatever, the speaker, and they say, somebody please return to security if you left your baggage. And I remember laughing to myself. I'm like, what kind of idiot leaves their freaking baggage at security? I mean, that's the whole point, is that you go through security, get your baggage checked.
Right.
And then karma got me. I lost track of how many bags I had. And sure enough, I'm that guy. So watch what you say.
Yeah. Eating some very delicious humble pie. Right.
Dude. And I even told my parents about it. I was like, oh, you're not gonna believe this. I was traveling, and they said this about security. And then my mom, she pointed out the fact that I had said that just the day before. I'm like, well,
there you go. Yeah, right. It's fucking prognosticating your demise.
That's right.
Your problems. But all right, well, let's do a few breaths and we'll close. Eyes closed, eyes open. It doesn't matter. You can always breathe either way. But let's do 3 breaths, really big breaths. And those big breaths are really going to help to slow down the nervous system. So exhale all the way out. Maybe bring a little hand onto your belly button to really feel the breath flowing deep into the belly. And then take an inhale into your hand, into the belly. And we fill all the way to the top slowly. And exhale out the mouth like you're blowing out a candle. Couple more in, big, beautiful breaths. Out, nice and easy. Just being with and feeling the experience. And one more time, in. And let it go. Well, good to have you back, John. It's good to have everybody here on this episode.
Good to
be
back, brother.
Hey, maybe leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, share this episode with a friend, maybe give us a little, snapshot and post it on your social. Let people know that you become more mindful by listening to Men Talking Mindfulness. Awesome, John.
Thank you, brother. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you for kind of running with the show and letting me kind of run in and run out with my craziness. And thank you, listeners, for your patience and grace today. I think that's where we'll wrap it up. Great show, and get outside, travel, transform yourself with that travel. Again, whether it's external or internal transformation, or rather internal, external travel to do that internal transformation. Get out there and see it, do it.
I said it in Clint's episode. It's like, get off the fucking couch. Life begins when you get off the couch. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, brother. And thank you all. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.